Hi guys and welcome to the show. Today we have the new Halo 9 iLx F259. Let's open it up and take a look inside. So Alpine has decided to turn the Halo project into a whole series of radios. So now there's two of them, the 309 and the new 259 lower price version of it. Let's see what comes in the box. So stacked in on top of the box is going to be another small box. And inside that we have some paperwork. We have the Alpine card that gives you the model number and the web address to go find a more detailed owner's manual. You have the Alpine thank you for purchasing. You have the installation instructions as well as the quick start guide. Beneath that is going to be all the wiring for the radio. First up is going to be the microphone and the microphone mount. Next is going to be the RCA plug for the radio. This has a 4-volt preamp section and 1 camera input. Now there's 6 channels, starting with blue, which is subwoofer, moving to gray, which is front, and finally purple, which is going to be rear. And they're staggered so that you don't have one giant RCA bundle behind the dash. Then lastly is going to be yellow, which is the rear view camera input. Next, it comes with 2 bags of screws. One bag is for mounting the radio, the other bag is for assembling the single DIN to the 9-inch display screen. It comes with a bag with 2 brackets. These are for left and right on the back side of the display screen to finish it off so you don't see the metal. It has 1 USB extension. It has a second piece of plastic. This is going to be the lock to mount the 9-inch screen into the chassis, which we'll talk about in a little bit. One thing I can say is don't lose this. This is the most important thing in the box. Without it, the radio won't work. Then lastly, we have the wiring harness. Go ahead and open that up and we'll take a look at that. Now Alpine does do their wiring harnesses a little bit different than everyone else. Just a little bit, not much. Right off the bat, the things that are normal are going to be the 8 speaker wires. They come in solid and solid with a black stripe. And how they're broken up is white is going to be the driver's front, gray is the passenger front, green is the driver's rear, and purple is the passenger rear. Next to that, you have a blue-white wire, which is going to be the amplifier turn-on, also called remote turn-on. Then there's a solid blue wire. This is the FM antenna turn-on. Now in modern cars, they don't have power antennas like before where they motor up out of the fender. They have what are called amplified antennas, where there's an actual FM amplifier that needs to get turned on with 12 volts. This is what's going to feed that. You have a yellow wire with a dark blue stripe. This is going to be the foot brake wire. How Alpine works is the foot brake needs to see a on, off, on pulse after the ignition is turned on. You have a red accessory wire, a black ground wire, and a yellow constant 12 volts. Then lastly, you have an orange-white wire. And a lot of radio manufacturers, this is the illumination wire, but as you can see in Alpine's extremely long wire, that's because this is going to be your reverse trigger wire, not your illumination wire. Don't make that mistake. It'll flip over the backup camera every time you turn on the lights. Next, inside the box, we have the screen itself that comes packaged all by itself. And you'll notice this big pink warning right here on the top. This is referring to that mounting plate that I said don't lose. This has to be installed into the screen in order for it to function properly. There's a micro switch that this pushes down in order for the radio to work. Basically what this is telling you, there's at least 1 screw that's holding the screen onto the back chassis. You should obviously put more, but you got to have at least this 1 screw. Now it comes protected very well. It has the cotton cover on it and it also has a clear piece of plastic over here to remove after installation so that it isn't scratched. On the back side you have the input. Now in the instructions they tell you to be careful not to touch this input or the radio's input. I'm not touching it, I'm touching the side. And then the mounting brackets all along the side here for adjustability, which we'll show you in just a minute. Buried down in the bottom of the box is the actual single DIN brain for the radio. This is that other end they ask you not to touch. Now let's take a look at the back side. First thing you'll notice is a rather big fan to cool the unit. You have the FM wired antenna here. It's about 6 inches long. You have your Sirius XM input here. This is for the SVX 300 add-on tuner. The microphone is going to plug in here in this little pink input. This is where your RCA preamp section will plug in. It simply snaps into the back of the radio just like this. Even if you're not going to use this, I strongly recommend plugging it in because one day you might, and if it's not there, it's going to make it really hard for you to use the preamp section. Steering wheel controls are going to plug in here. Your main power harness goes there, and then the one and only only USB is located right here, and as you can see, it's recessed down into the unit about 1.1 inches. Now there's a couple different options for mounting, both in the unit itself and in the screen. We're going to address the unit itself first. There's two different lengths it can stick out of the dash. Right now it's set to maximum. To have it sink into the radio, you must first remove 2 screws here and 2 screws on the other side. Now once you get it removed, you can simply push the unit in. As you can see, it sinks it in about a good inch. And you'll notice there's 2 new screw holes here and here also on this side, so which you can go ahead and replace the 4 screws you just took out. Next, we'll take a look at the screen itself. The screen is capable of moving anywhere from the 0 point here to +20, -20, or +45. It's also capable of moving up and down. To start out, we'll go ahead and remove these 2 silver screws right here. The one on this side and the one on this side. And there's 2 screw holes here. So as we move this, it's going to give us new possibilities for screwing the screen in place. Once we find the right elevation, we go ahead and replace those 2 screws. Now once you get the angle the way you want, next we want to take a look at sliding the radio up and down. To do that, there's 4 screws that we have to remove. 2 on this side and 2 on the other side as well. Now once you get the 4 screws removed, you can easily slide this up and down to find the desired height that you want in the dash. Once you've figured it out, go ahead and replace the 4 screws and lock it in place. Now the 2 beauty panels we showed you earlier, once you get the elevation and everything the way you like it, you can go ahead and snap these on. They're going to clip in from the sides here. I would strongly recommend saving these till your very last thing you do, till you're done and sure of which way you want this screen to go. As you can see from the 3 different adjustments we can make on this, you're going to want to do some test fitting to make sure you get it the way you want it in the dash before final assembly. Once you're to that point though, go ahead and slide the 2 units together. Now more than likely this is going to be done once the unit is either mounted in the kit or mounted in the car. So getting to these top screws can be a little bit more difficult. Now go ahead and grab yourself the bag of silver and black screws. These are going to be used to screw the 2 units together. There's 4 screw provisions that you can see on the top here. They are located here, 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 and here. So we want to go ahead and grab 4 of the silver screws and screw them into place. Now once those 4 screws are in place, the unit is firmly locked together. There will be some extra screws. Go ahead and save these. These are in case you lose any of the screws in the unit and you need to replace them. There's 2 of the longer black screws as well as 3 of the silver screws. Now once we have this all screwed together, we want to go ahead and grab this piece here. This piece is going to slide in right here to where the 2 pieces meet, and you'll see there's 1 screw hole right there that we need to go ahead and screw one of the 2 screws that it comes with into. Now as we said, and also the warning said, the unit will not work until this is put into place. There's a little tiny switch located right there that's up like this, and when you put it in, it moves it down. So when you're test fitting it, it's cool, but when you actually need to go get it to work, you still have to be able to get this in. So keep that in mind when you're adjusting this depth in and out. So at this point, you should have your unit all assembled and ready to go. Let's go ahead and power this thing up and take a look at the screen itself. Now while the unit's powering up, we'll go ahead and talk about this new screen just a little bit. It is a capacitive touchscreen, which is the better of the 2. It is 9 inches, which is 800 by 480. It is a TFT active matrix display with 1,152,000 pixels. It is using an LED backlight system. That LED backlight system also illuminates a strip here across the bottom of the radio that shines down onto your dash. Now it powers up to the tuner because at the end of the day, that's really the only feature built into this. It is an Android Auto Apple Carplay radio, which we'll show in a little bit, but it is a nice big FM display. You can change stations simply by touching one of the arrows, as well as going to your presets here across the bottom. You can select band on the bottom here to select between FM2, AM, and back to FM1. If you tap in the corner here, this will take you to your audio section, which we'll cover in a little bit. Now there are a few hard buttons located across the bottom of the radio: volume up and down, mute, push to talk, your 6 source feature, phone, and track up and down. Now the 6 source feature located here is going to take you to the main menu. It's also located up here in the top left of the screen. Simply tap it, it takes you to the new user interface. If you notice the 3 lines here across the bottom, that's because you have 3 pages that you can custom design on your own. This is one of the new features of this radio. To do that, simply press and hold. It'll zoom the screen out and bring you to this page. Now to fill something on here, simply drag and drop this up. and put it where you'd like. If you have something like the home page where it already has the icons on there, press and hold, you'll notice a trash can opens here on the top. Drag your icon up and dump it in the trash. Now you'll see where some of these say 2x2, 1x1, 2x1. That's telling you how many boxes they're going to take up. There's 8 boxes, and you can break them up any way you want. You can also move things around that are already in boxes to help design your page. You can bring things from other pages onto the current page you're working on to help you design the layout you want. Once you're done, simply touch it and you have your new home page. You can arrange all 3 pages any way you'd like. If you notice, you can design pages without the other squares. If you want to actually see the image behind here and you don't want all this stuff to clutter it, you can design a page something like this, then simply have everything else located on one of these other pages. Now also from your home page, you can access whatever it is you have going on simply by tapping it. So for in this case, we have FM up, and it'll show us the current channel we're on. We can even change channels here if we'd like to. If we want to go to the actual page, just simply tap the icon and it'll take us back there. Now let's go ahead and go into the settings located here. The settings are going to be where all your back-end features are that you might want to get into to help customize your radio. The first one being general. General allows you to go in and change things that you might want to change. For example, language. It has 4 languages to choose from: English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. Hit the back arrow. Wallpaper and themes. This radio will allow you to import your own image if you'd like, or use the existing wallpaper that it comes with, the one that you've been seeing. You can change those to 4 different colors: amber, blue, green, and red. Screen and LED customization. This allows you to go ahead and adjust the dimmer value as well as the key brightness here across the bottom. Now one thing to note, as we said earlier, that orange-white wire is an illumination. It actually uses a photo sensor built into the screen. When your cabin is dark, it automatically dims the radio. You can turn that feature on and off here, as well as adjust how bright or dark you'd like the screen to be. Now when adjusting for when the dimmer is on, the dimmer actually has to be activated. So you either have to go here and turn it on and adjust it, or wait until the cab of the car is dark and then adjust it. When you're done, select OK in order for that to take effect. Clock is adjusted here. Display off. This is helpful if you're driving at nighttime. This is a big display, and it can be fatiguing if you're going on long night trips. This allows you to shut the display off. About is where you're going to find your version information, meaning what software is running on the unit in case you need to do some form of a software update. Warranty and copyright information, and then restore factory settings, which we'll talk about in the very end. Installation. Installation is something Alpine continuously puts in their radios to give you an idea of what's going on with the radio. So for example, if you feel you have the right reverse wire but the radio isn't triggering over, you can come in here and check to see if it's actually triggering the radio. If this shows off and you feel you have the right wire, the radio isn't seeing it that way. It'll also tell you if your parking brake is engaged. Connection. Connection is where your Bluetooth information is going to be stored, as well as do you want Apple CarPlay on and off. So if you're running an Android phone, you might want to turn this feature off. Camera settings. This has 1 camera input. However, if you'd like to add more than 1, Alpine does make the expansion module, which is the KCX-C2600B multi-camera selector system. For now though, we're just going to deal with the camera input that it has. Select it, select rear, and then hit OK. Remember to hit OK. Now that's going to unlock all the camera features. Camera signal, NTSC or PAL. Parking guidelines adjust. This uses a new parking guideline system that Alpine hasn't used in the past. Most of the time Alpine has these little cones. This is a departure from that, which is pretty nice and much easier to set. It allows you to come in here and simply drag and drop and move things around. When you're done, select save, or if you're like that isn't going to work, select initial and it'll bring it back. You can also move the never depend solely on camera to the bottom of the screen out of the way here, which is really nice. If you don't want guidelines on, you can simply turn them off. Next up is going to be visual adjust. This is a really cool feature for when you're integrating into a factory backup camera. This is going to give you brightness, color, and contrast adjust, which a lot of the times you're going to need when integrating with those factory backup cameras because they look terrible, usually are too dark, so being able to adjust them is rather nice. Make the adjustments you need and then select OK to save. One of the features I really like about Alpine is that they offer this guy here, which is mute while backing up. This is very nice because what it does is as soon as the car is put in reverse, it automatically mutes the radio so that you can concentrate on backing up. It comes default off. I recommend turning it on. Next, we're going to head over to the sounds section. This is what a lot of people have been waiting for because after all, what's the point of putting in a new hot radio if it doesn't sound good? And of course, this unit is packed full of good sound settings. First up, top is Alpine's own media expander. If you go ahead and tap here, you have 3 levels of media expander to choose from, as well as all mix. Now I would just warn you, be careful with media expander. Preset EQ. It has 10 preset EQ settings, from flat, pop, rock, classical, jazz, electronic, hip hop, easy listening, country, and news. So if you're not into like all those funky EQ settings, just pick something that matches the genre you're listening to and it'll take care of it for you. Now as far as if you are into those, or you want something a little bit more than just preset EQ settings, go to the next tab, which is balance, fader, bass, treble, and subwoofer level control. Here you'll find a simple to use bass and treble adjustment along with your balance and fader, and if you've added a subwoofer, this is where the level will be also. You can also switch the phase of the subwoofer here as well. Graphic equalizer. This is a 5-band graphic equalizer, so if none of those other features have done it for you, this will allow you to custom tailor it to the way you like. There's flat to flatten it back out if you've messed with it, and then you have 3 presets here to make your own EQ settings. Simply pick the band you want and you can move up or down to fine tune. Time correction. Time correction allows you to go in and adjust the speaker's positioning to where you're sitting in the car. By measuring between the speaker and your head, you can then enter those numbers in either inches, centimeters, or milliseconds. Tap here. Get it all set, press and hold one of the presets, and you're done. It also has crossovers built into it for both front, rear, and sub. Come over here and select the channel you'd like, front, rear, or sub. Pick the frequency you want. This has 20, 25, 31.5, 40, 50, 63, 80, 100, 125, 160, 200. Then you have 4 different slopes, 0, 6, 12, 18, and 24 dB. You can also turn down those channels here as well. Subwoofer on and off. If you're driving somewhere and you just don't want the bass and you don't want to work the subwoofer volume control, you can turn it off. Default is off though, so if you're plugging this in for the first time and you're like, hey man, I have no bass, and you start troubleshooting, slow it down, come in and turn it on. Volume. Volume is another nice feature that this radio has. This gives you the ability to adjust the volume on all your sources in one place. Feedback volume, source level volume, Android Auto volume, Apple CarPlay volume, as well as the phone volume can all be controlled on one page. Rear speakers on and off, just like the subwoofer. If you're driving somewhere, like in my case, where the kid's sleeping in the back seat and you still want to enjoy the music, you can go ahead and turn those rear speakers off so they don't bother them. Defeat. If you're going to be hooking this up to some form of external equalizer, such as maybe the PXE-0850S, you're going to want to go ahead and shut off the EQ features built into this because you're not going to need them. It's going to take care of them. You can do that right here. Now, as we said, this will do Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. If you plug in your phone, it will auto launch, or if you need to switch to it, simply hit the 6 key and then you'll see it appear in the bottom of the screen here if you haven't moved that icon. Tap it and now you can see Apple CarPlay. Now like we said, this has a capacitive touch screen, which is going to be the best screen for using Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, because that is the type of glass that is on your smart device. Now the nice thing about both these features is the GPS. They both give you the ability to do Waze, Google Maps, and then on Apple you do get Apple Maps. Now just like Apple CarPlay, the icon will appear here. Simply tap it and it'll take you to your Android Auto screen. Here you have navigation, phone, music, and back to your Alpine, or you can simply touch your 6 button and it will take you back as well. And there again you have Google Maps or Waze available to you. Now one other feature that is available to you on your home screen, if you so desire, is the backup camera. You can tap here, it'll automatically pull that image up for you so that you can see it while you're moving forward if you connect your backup camera to accessory power so that it has power while the key is on. Now a couple other things that we haven't mentioned yet is power. This unit has 16 watts by 4 of internal power, as well as we said it has a 4-volt preamp section. Now if you're not going to be using it for Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you can use it for Bluetooth audio. You can use the USB to do USB video, photos, as well as music. And with that, we're gonna wrap this one up. Fernando, if you please.
Alright guys, if you like this video, please subscribe, share, like, and you know where you find us. Facebook, Instagram, and here in YouTube.
Thanks so much as always for watching. You guys have a great night. We'll see you later next time. Bye.